Hey, this is Overpass Insights. My name is Eric and I make apps. So today I want to talk about how what your clients can afford should not affect your quote. Alright, so I hope you guys are all enjoying the apocalypse and enjoying your isolation. I'm still here in the flat, still getting over the cold, still, isolating. But anyway, today I wanted to talk a little bit more about budgets, right? This is something that keeps coming up again and again and again in my business, and just when I'm talking to other business owners. I have a video out there which I did years ago, which was called "Never Tell Anyone Your Budget." Like, my opinion is that if a developer asks for your budget, it's none of their concern, right? You need something done and they need to quote you on it, right? And if your budget is lower than they think it's going to be, then that's what it's going to be. And I kind of understand it from a developer point of view. Like, you don't want to come up with a budget, you don't want to come up with a quote that's higher than they can afford. If you pad it out or whatever, add all the bells and whistles, and you kind of want to make sure that you could fit within their budget if possible. But just my whole thing was, it feels like when somebody says, "What's your budget?" what they're really saying is, how much money you got, what can you afford, right? So I've always been really opposed to that, and it's been one of these things. My whole outlook has been that what your clients can afford to pay has nothing to do with how much it's going to cost to create something for them, right? Depending on if you deliver quality, and that should never really be a concern. If you can't deliver an acceptable amount of quality, then you really shouldn't be looking into the project anyway, right? And that's just always the way I thought about it. And then, again, this is something that a lot of people disagree with, other business owners. I've heard a lot of people make really good arguments about it, saying, "Eric, you're not delivering a commodity. You're not doing something that's, you're not building them a couch. You're making something that's very flexible, and you want to be able to deliver something within what they can afford." And that makes sense. But I kind of go backwards and forwards on it. So last year I had an advisor tell me to, and we talked about it, and I was basically saying I spent a lot of time just giving ballpark quotes. I spent a lot of time on the phone with people and would talk about their application, and it turns out that they don't have the budget, or they want equity and all that kind of stuff. Something you get a lot as an app developer. So I said, I spent a lot of time doing that, and it was very wasteful in my time. So he said, you need to ask them before you have that first meeting what their budget is, and that was his whole thing. And I was like, well, no, I'm opposed to that. I don't like the idea of asking the budget. I don't want to do that. And he said, well, he said, give it a try, whatever. So I did. So we put something on our form saying, like a drop down saying, what is your budget? We did bands like 5 to 10,000, 10 to 15, whatever. We just like bands, whatever. And people would come in, and usually when I give a ballpark, I wouldn't even look at that, right? I think the one thing it did was it made sure that people know that was like what the minimum was. Like, if it was something that was like, if it was like $200 or something like that, then it's not really worth taking on. But if it's something that's high or whatever, that was the one thing to filter out people who just wanted equity and stuff like that. However, a lot of the times I would give a ballpark that was higher than their budget, and a few times I give a ballpark that was lower than their budget, right? And I remember the advisor who did that when we were talking about it, he's like the one way worked fine. Like if I said, oh, their budget wasn't high enough for us to do it, and that was fine. But there was a time where we had one that I think they said their budget was, like 20 to 30,000 for this project, and my quote was like, it was in the low tens. It was like, I think it was like 12 to 14 or something like that. Because it was like, based on everything I did, all the analysis I did, that's how much I thought we could do it for, right? Which is, and his whole thing, he says, Eric, why on earth would you charge them 10 to 14 if they were willing to pay 20 to 30? And my whole thing was, because it works both ways, right? Their ability to pay shouldn't be like, I would prefer they spend that extra budget they have on marketing. I would prefer they spend it on other things so the app is a success. And it's just something that that people disagreed with. Like I said, a lot of people disagree with me when I talk about this. But my whole thing is your client's ability to pay is not, it doesn't have any reflection unless my whole thing is, I'll give you a ballpark. If it's too high, we can remove some stuff, we can remove whatever, and bring it back in with a budget, which I don't need to know what that is. If it's too low, then use the rest for marketing. right? And because I never quite understood, right? If your client's budget is lower than yours, what do you do? Do you lower the quality? Do you just, do you lower your margins? If it's higher than yours, what do you do? Do you add quality? Do you add, lunch breaks and stuff? I don't know. Anyway, I just want to talk about that again. It comes up again and again and again. And one of my core beliefs has always been, and this might make me a bad business person, by the way. I'm not saying this makes me a good business person, but it does help me sleep at night. My core belief has always been, what your clients can pay has nothing to do with what you deliver them. If if they walk in a suit, or if they walk in rags, right? What you do for them has no bearing on what they can afford to pay. Unless you don't think they can afford to actually pay you at all based on what you quote them, then that's something different. So anyway, that is it for today. Hey, let me ask you guys a question. During your isolation, are you learning any new software development languages, or are you, like I'm doing, binge watching Netflix shows? And if you are binge watching Netflix, what are you watching, right? Because I'm always looking for new series. So anyway, that is it for today. I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.
Shut